Hey everybody, welcome to module number 5 of the carpet cleaning course. Today we're going to learn about soils, all the types of soil that we're dealing with in cleaning carpet. So once we understand how these soils behave, we can clean them effectively. So let's get right into it. Make sure you give us a thumbs up if you're getting any value at all. Make sure you subscribe so you can get the additional content that's coming your way. And let's get right into it and learn all about those soils that we're cleaning up in carpet. Have a great day.
Welcome to Professional Carpet Cleaning, Module 5, Soil. In this module, we're going to be covering your first real look at how cleaning works. So this is a very important module. You want to make sure you're paying close attention. We're going to cover a lot of material, so be ready. You may want to watch this twice. You want a good grasp on all the concepts that we're going to cover in this section. So here we go. First of all, what is soil? If we define soil as any foreign substance that makes its way onto the carpet, it's very broad and it needs to be broad. You're going to be running into a lot of different things when you're cleaning carpet, and it's important that we know where they come from, how to clean them. There's a lot of different things that go into this. Soil comes in all types, and you're going to find all types when you clean the carpet. Now, the soil that we're most concerned about is dry soil. So we're concerned about the sand, the clay, the carbon. Anything that's considered dry is going to be the largest problem. And the reason why that is because these dry soils will tend to want to scratch the fibers of the carpet. And once a fiber is scratched, there's no going back. You can't repair the scratch. It's going to look duller. It's not going to look as vibrant color-wise. So these dry soils, these sands, if you break dry soil down to its base ingredients, it's a lot of times silica sand. It's just small bits of glass. So every time a customer walks over their dirty carpet, they're doing damage to the carpet. The longer it's left in there, the more damage it's going to be. And once you do pull the dirt, the sand out of the carpet, if it's been there too long and it has scratched, it creates a condition that we're going to call apparent soil. Apparent soil is just that. It's apparently dirty, but you've just cleaned it, so it's not dirty. What's happening is the fibers are scratched, they're no longer reflecting the light properly, so they end up with an area of the carpet that looks duller than the rest of the areas of the carpet. So they may come to you and say, well, could you clean that again? That doesn't quite look right. It doesn't look like it's clean, and you're going to have to explain to them, no matter how many times I clean it, it's a problem because it's damaged. The fiber's damaged. It can't be recovered. Now, there are some things we'll cover in the advanced courses that you can make a little bit better. You can add things to the carpet that can lessen the effect of an apparent soil situation. Now, it's estimated that 75 to 80% of the soil in the carpet is going to be these dry soils. So you might ask, if it's dry, why can't I just run a vacuum over it and it be gone? In a perfect world, that would be great. But the problem is these soils are stuck onto the carpet through other soils. So you're going to have oils that these dry soils are bonding to. Hence, you have a problem of the dry soils sticking to the carpet and you can't just vacuum them off. It's going to require a chemical action to remove these types of soils. Now here you can see a little bit of the real soil, apparent soil. These two pictures on the right hand side are apparent soil. They might look like a real soil. So right there you can see there was a chair and a couch on that top picture and it looks dirty. However, that carpet has recently been cleaned. So what you have here is a couch sitting right in that area and their feet are constantly shuffling back and forth on that carpet. Sands and dirt get in there, scratches the fibers, and then after it's clean you have a texture difference on the carpet. The carpet is scratched. No matter how many times you clean it, it's not going to look any better. Now the bottom one is a little bit different. That's an apparent soil situation, but it's not caused by the carpet in any way. It's caused by that kick plate, which is a brass kick plate, and it's reflecting light onto the carpet and it's creating an area that looks like it's clean, but really it's just got a bright light on it. And then we have imaginary soil. I don't really go into this very much because it just doesn't happen very often. Now and then you will pull out a spot or clean an area that the customer just insists is dirty still. You're not going to be able to make that person happy other than going over it, clean it again. Even though it's not dirty, the customer believes it's dirty. So the easiest way to remedy that situation is just say, yes, I will go ahead and clean that again. Do it. You might want to make sure they watch you clean it and they can see. And a lot of times they'll say, wow, that looks so much better. Even though you know you didn't really do anything, But if it makes them happy, that's the goal. Our goal is to make the customer happy at all costs. If they want you to clean this apparent soil again, clean it again. You know it's not dirty, but if they watch you and they know, wow, he really worked hard on that, maybe it's not going to come out, maybe he was right, then the customer's happy. You're a hero either way you look at it. So where's the soil come from? A lot of times it depends on where you live. If you live in an industrial area or there's coal power plants, or you're in the country and there's tractors running around and dust in the air, all these contribute to the soil in your home or in the customer's home. So if they're in a rural area, they're going to have dirt, sand, pesticides, any number of things. Cities are going to have a lot of oil and carbon. If the customer's walking around a lot in parking lots, they're going to track that parking lot back into their home. So they're going to have oil from cars. Now, as for soils that aren't dry, a lot of those are tracked in from parking lots. But remember, a lot of the oils in our homes are from cooking. If you can smell somebody cooking a meal in your bedroom from the kitchen, those are oils, those are lipids, and they get into the air, they flow through your house, and eventually they will land on the carpet. They're heavier than the air, they're going to settle, but if you can smell a food from the other end of the house, those are oils, and that's what we smell floating in the air, are the oils from that meal cooking. It's going to settle on the carpet, and then meal after meal after meal, you have layer after layer of minute particles of oil. Eventually those become a sticky layer of oil on the carpet. The longer you leave it without cleaning it, the more oil settles on the carpet, the stickier the carpet becomes, and the more the dry soils are going to attach to it. So if we look here, this is a chart that shows soil composition. Now it's different various places throughout the world, throughout the US. You're going to have different soils. Some place might have more sand, another place might have more clay. So it just depends on where you live, but this is a soil composition chart that shows you roughly what could be in those soils. So on the top half of the sheet, we're going to have the dry soils. These can't be dissolved. They're the sand, the quartz, clay, limestone. They're not going to be dissolved with water or chemical aspect. Protein, fiber, dander from pets, cellulosic material that's from books, from clothing. There is an undetermined amount. There's some things in there we just don't know what it is. And on the bottom half of this chart, we're looking at the soluble things, the sugars, the starches, the salts. Those are all water soluble. They come from food, body fluids, pets. Pets is a big one. You're going to run into pet problems. The dry soluble things, fats, that's from cooking, tars, asphalts, animal and vegetable oils, those are dry soluble. They're going to take some sort of solvent to break those down. They come from tracking in from outside, cooking vapors, body oil. If they have pets, a lot of the large dogs such as a Labrador, water dogs, if they're rolling around on the carpet or if they like to sleep in a particular spot, you're going to have a spot that's really dark brown. And they're wondering, why is that dark brown? Well, the dog lays there. And certain types of dogs are very oily on their coat. So the oil distributes itself in the carpet, and then the dirt from either the animal or just walking over the area sticks to that oil. So oils are a big one. That's really what we're removing is oils. Once the oils are gone, the dry soluble comes loose. So here's the types of soil that we're going to run into. We have the particulate soil. Remember, the particulate, the dry soils are the most damaging. We need to know that. The customer needs to know that. A lot of times a customer will say, I don't like to clean my carpet too often because it seems to get dirty quicker. Now you need to know how to talk to the customer regarding that mindset. Carpet cleaning detergents used to be made out of oils. Heavy oils like coconut oils, they were making and cleaning with soaps. Soaps require a whole lot of extraction to try to get them out. So people were cleaning with them and leaving a residue behind. This was way back in the day. So yes, carpets used to get dirty much quicker after they were cleaned because of the residues that were left over. However, today we're using refined detergents that are clean rinsing. They dry to powders, they dry to crystals, and this isn't a problem anymore if you're using good cleaning products and good techniques. It eliminates this problem nearly 100%. Also, you have to explain to the customer when they bought the carpet new, they had protectants that were sprayed on or applied at the factory. This protectants wear off over time, so if you have a carpet that's 10 years old and you clean it, it's not going to repel soil as good as it did 10 years ago. So then they look at it and say, well, why did it get dirty so quick? Did you apply a stain protectant? No. Well, there's your answer. If you didn't apply the stain protectant and your stain protectant that was applied at the factory is gone, then you have a non-protected carpet that's going to have an affinity to attach soils. Soils are going to want to stick to it more so than it did when it was new. So is it getting dirty quicker? Yes, it is, but there's a remedy for that, and we have that remedy. So for a price, we can fix the problem that they're having. So it's just a matter of having that knowledge in your head, remembering to tell the customer when they bring that up. That used to be true. Let me tell you what it is today. And you can remedy that situation, and you can make more money by applying the protectors, because that customer wants their carpet to repel soil like the day it was purchased. So we can help them to get to that situation. So now remember, 79% of all soil, nearly 80%, is dry. And we must remember that if we don't do a good job of removing the dry soils. Dry soils tend to want to grab onto liquids. They may not be soluble, but they will grab onto. So if you imagine mud is a dry soil, but it's got a lot of water in it. It wants to hang on to that water. So if it's not removed from the carpet, it's going to turn to mud and will hold onto that water. And it's going to cause you two problems. It's going to increase your dry times, and it's going to increase the chance of soil wicking. Soil wicking is as the surface of the carpet is drying, it's pulling moisture from the bottom, and as it pulls it from the bottom, if you have a layer of dirt or dry soil down there that's turned to mud, it's going to want to resurface up to the tips of the carpet. So you have a browning situation that happens when that mud is being pulled to the surface. So it's very important that we remove these dry soils or particulate soils. And remember, most of these soils will be concentrated at entry doors, hallways. When we do our vacuuming, these are the areas you have to concentrate in. Get that soil out, get the sands, the clays, those things out as much as possible before you start applying water. Next, we have the water soluble. It's just like it sounds. That can be dissolved in water. Many foods, sugars are all water soluble. Some of these water soluble soils contain a large amount of sugar. Now, these can be a big problem after you're done cleaning. So if you imagine if somebody dumped a big gulp on their carpet and that soda goes down inside, down below the carpet, into the padding of the carpet, the liquids, the waters evaporate out, and it leaves the syrup still in the carpet. So as you rinse this spot out, you add more liquid to it, it resolubilizes the sugars, the syrup, and as you're trying to extract it all out, you do a great job on the surface, but then what happens as it's trying to dry, that syrup that's still down into the backing of the carpet and the padding of the carpet is going to want to wick to the surface again. So you get a call 3 weeks later saying the spot's come back. Really, it hasn't come back, but you didn't do a good job of getting it out. So there's a certain amount of stickiness that's now pulled up to the surface of the carpet and is attaching itself to any dirt as they're walking over it with their shoes, or any dirt that's settling on it for just the dust in the home. And we'll cover how to get these particular spots out in later modules. But this can be a big problem. If somebody has a lot of sugary spills, you could be going back if you don't know how to get them out properly. Next, we have the dry soluble. These soils are very sticky, and they hold the particulate soils. These are the oils, all those things that are getting through the air or being tracked into the home. The oils are attaching to the dry soils, and they're holding them onto the carpet fiber. They don't dissolve in just water, typically. If you get a hot enough water, the oils, a light oil will dissolve, but it's not going to dissolve efficiently. So we need detergents. We need solvents to dissolve these dry soluble soils. Good detergents, properly manufactured detergents, are a must to remove these. They can make short work of the oils, but you've got to have a good cleaning product to do a good job. If these oils, these dry soluble soils, don't dissolve completely, they're going to resoil really quickly, and you're going to be back in the home for a resurface. Next, we're going to look at removing the soils. So removing soil isn't just one step. We're going to go through 5 steps. So the first step in removing soil is going to be the dry soil removal. Dry soil removal is going to be accomplished by a thorough vacuuming. Remember, this soil has to be removed before the wet cleaning. If you don't, it's going to result in the creation of mud when those soils get wet. And how we remove this soil is by vacuuming. Now there's 100 different vacuums you could go buy. My advice is you want a commercial vacuum. Now there are some vacuums that make a commercial and a residential version, and they're essentially the same. that type of vacuum is fine. I personally use a SIBO vacuum. That's the one pictured here. You also want to use a vacuum that has a high efficiency filtration or a HEPA filter. European vacuums have a hospital grade filtration. Either one is fine. The SIBO has an option for either one, HEPA or a hospital grade filtration. Like I said, they're the same thing. This is a very good vacuum. It is an expensive vacuum. You may not start out using this vacuum, but buy the best vacuum that you can afford. Sometimes when you're just starting out, you may just be putting your home vacuum in your truck and heading out. That's fine. Do that. Work with what you have, but you don't want to skip this step. Skipping this step will give you more problems later. The next step in removing soil is going to be soil suspension. Soil suspension is a really important step, and there are a lot of cleaners out there that are not doing this step properly. It involves 4 things. You can't skip, and it's important to know how these 4 things work together in soil suspension. So we're going to go in depth into each one of these. In order to achieve a complete soil remover, you have to suspend the soils. The soils are attached to the fibers. You need to release them from the fiber and suspend them in the chemical that you're using or the detergent that you're using to remove them. So let's look at all 4 of these principles. Number 1, the chemical. Remember that removing soil that is bonded to the carpet due to oils on the carpet fibers requires a chemical to break that bond. It's not just going to happen with extracting with water. A lot of guys will go into a job, they'll pull out their hoses, they'll walk into the house, and they'll start extracting with hot water. That is not a hot water extraction cleaning. And remember, customers don't know the difference. They don't know that that's not how you're supposed to clean carpet unless you tell them. Now, there's a lot of different chemicals on the market that you can use to do this particular job. They all work basically the same. They attack and they emulsify, dissolve one thing into another. So if you have an oily spot, it's going to dissolve that oil and it's going to take it off of the fiber and it's going to emulsify or keep it dissolved in that solution until that solution dries out. One thing that's important, you don't want to let a solution dry out during your cleaning. If it does, it needs to be rehydrated, probably rescrubbed, and you need to basically start all over again from scratch. So don't let your detergent dry out on the carpet. Next is temperature. Chemicals work better when they're hot. In fact, if you look at this picture on the right, for every 18 degrees above 118 degrees Fahrenheit up to 250 degrees, the chemical activity is going to double at the molecular level. The molecules are going to be moving faster. It's going to work better. So the hotter you can make your chemical when you're applying it or when you're extracting, the better. So if you look at that chart there from 118 degrees, every 18 degrees, 136, 154, 172, 190, 208, 226, the higher you go, the better your cleaner is going to work. So you need to make sure that you're working with as hot a water as possible. Also, another thing you need to look at is right here. Oils dissolve at 112 degrees. So at very minimum, you want to clean with 112 degree water. That's going to make the oils melt off the fibers better. Now, the hotter you go, the faster they're going to melt. If you imagine cleaning a plate at home, if you have butter on that plate and you're trying to clean it with cold water, it won't come off with cold water until you apply a detergent. But if you turn that water up to hot, that starts to melt off, and it's anything above 112 degrees, it's going to melt that butter right off that plate without any chemical. So 112 degrees, add chemical. Now we have a very efficient means of dissolving those soils. Next, time. Chemical action requires time to work. You can't spray a chemical on and then instantly start extracting it. You're going to remove some of the soils, but it's going to work slowly. Allow it to sit. This is called dwell time. Most of the detergents on the market will tell you how much dwell time is needed. Some will say a very short dwell time, some will say a longer dwell time. If you're using enzymes, you need a longer dwell time as well. And we'll go into those things at a later module. But give the chemicals time to work. Let them emulsify the soils. Next, agitation. We need to let the chemicals sit. So agitation is what you're going to do in that area where you're allowing it to sit, allowing it to have some time. So agitation, you can achieve agitation with any of these things here on the right-hand side. You've got groomers, brushes, power scrubbers, counter-rotating reel-type scrubbers. Now I suggest you know how to work or use all of these systems. Some of these systems you're going to not be able to use. Any of the rotating brush machines can and will void a warranty on your carpet. I may not agree that it's damaging the carpet in every instance, but the manufacturers have said use this product and it will be voiding your warranty. Now that's the picture on the left here. That is a floor scrubber. It takes a brush on the bottom and spins it. That is what the manufacturers are saying not to use. Now on the right hand side you have a hand brush and you have a real type scrubbing machine. The real type ones you can use and it's not going to void the warranty. The power scrubber on the left will void the warranty. Now the floor machine type, use a soft brush, use a high quality brush, and typically you're not going to do any damage at all. But keep in mind, if that carpet's under warranty, you need to be careful, because if the customer sees you using it and they're under warranty and they have a claim and the claims adjuster asks them what type of cleaning did they do, and they say, well, I saw them in here with one of those round floor machines going around. Now you've just bought their carpet, because whose fault is it? Instantly the claims adjuster is going to say, oh, they voided your warranty. You don't have a warranty. Now that customer is going to call you and they're going to say, you owe me new carpet. So just be careful, know your options, know what you can and can't do, and do the best job possible. Don't void the client's carpet warranty just by scrubbing it. But also, you don't want to neglect this step. There has to be some agitation going on. It's going to make the detergent emulsify better. You want those oils to be emulsified in that solution. Scrubbing it is going to achieve that better. So now that we've looked at all four of those principles, we're going to put them all together. So if you look at this pie on the right hand side, this is going to be called the soil suspension pie. All these things are going to work together. So we have the time, the temperature, the chemical, the agitation. They all work together to achieve one thing, and that's soil suspension. Now, if we just give you a situation where you don't have temperature, so you're cleaning with a portable unit, and imagine the home doesn't have a working water heater, or the gas is out in the home. Now you have cold water that you're working with. How are we going to clean that? Well, simply we need to adjust. So the pie doesn't look like this. What we're going to do, we're going to make the pie look a little bit like this. So we're not going to do the same cleaning. We're going to apply more agitation, more time, and possibly a stronger or a better chemical formulation. So basically we're going to look at it this way. If one or more of the other principles is missing, you must compensate for that missing part of the pie. Don't just continue to clean the same way you always clean. It won't be good enough. You cannot ignore this. Now there are some cleaning methods that incorporate different parts of this pie in different ways. Dry cleaning or spin pad cleaning has much more agitation and less heat, just for one example. But each different method has different strong points and weak points. Just remember, when you're trying to suspend the soil, that all four of these principles come into play. If one's missing, you have to compensate with the other ones. Next for removing soil is going to be soil extraction. So far we've removed the dry soil, we've suspended the soil in our solution, so it's now time to extract it. So how we remove the soil? There's basically going to be three types. There's water extraction, where we're rinsing the soil out. There's absorption, and there's encapsulation. Each of these methods, if used efficiently, work, but you need to make sure that you're doing it properly. My go-to method is hot water extraction. I'm going to be rinsing it. That's the picture on the bottom. I'm going to be rinsing that soil out and that solution out by using a cleaning wand. It's a wand that's under a constant vacuum that when you pull a trigger, allows water to be sprayed on the carpet surface. And as you're pulling that wand back, you're extracting and pulling that solution along with all the soils that you've suspended out. That method can be used with a portable unit or a truck-mounted unit. Now on the top left, that's an absorption technique or a spin pad cleaning. It's going to be using a cotton bonnet or pad, which will be run over the surface of the carpet, and the soils will be absorbed into that pad. It's usually a cotton, so it's very absorbent, and it's literally going to pull the soils that are suspended in that solution out of the carpet. Now that top right corner picture, that is an encapsulation technique. It's a little bit different. It's not actually working to remove the soils. It's doing what it says. It's encapsulating the soils. It's going to take the soils and it's going to put them in a little polymer bubble that's going to dry to a crystal. After it's dried, the pieces of crystal that are encapsulating the pieces of soil that have been suspended in your solution are then vacuumed away. After that crystal dries, a vacuum will remove the soils. Next, in removing soil, we have grooming. This step's done after the carpet's clean. It involves using a grooming rag to set the nap of the carpet. Really, it's just combing the carpet. The groomer is just a large comb. You go over the carpet in a back and forth motion, and it sets the nap straight up, allows for better drying, as well as removes any of your tracking marks. So if you've walked over the carpet, any of your wand marks or scrubber marks, anything like that, it removes those areas. Now, I had one gentleman at one time said, how is my customer going to know I've cleaned if I remove all my marks? Well, if that's the only reason they know you've cleaned, you've got a bigger problem. Your customer will know that you've cleaned. And certain customers do like the wand marks on their carpet. That doesn't change anything. You must groom every carpet. Even if the customer likes the wand marks, you need to groom the carpet. This sets it up for drying as well as gets rid of any of your wand marks. Wand marks can become permanent, or at least semi-permanent, if you don't remove them in the carpet's wet state. After it dries, those wand marks can be semi-permanent. They can be removed, but you've got to re-wet and groom the carpet after the fact. Now keep in mind there's several different types of groomers. A standard groomer, which is the one that's pictured here, is used for most carpets, nylon, plush carpets, but you wouldn't use this type of groomer on a wool area rug or something like that, a fine Persian rug. It will leave those little lines that you can see there on the carpet. Those become, again, semi-permanent. You can't get them out without re-wetting the rug and then grooming it with a proper groomer. Next step will be drying. Drying is the last step of any cleaning. Sometimes it's easy, just open a window. Where I live, it's hot in the summer, up to 110 degrees. Opening windows isn't always an option. But during spring, fall, if you have good weather, the quickest way will be sometimes to just open the windows and let it air out. However, if you're in a very humid area, you may not want to open the windows and just let it all air out because it won't dry. If you're in a very humid area where the air outside is at the saturation level, your carpet's not going to dry when all that humidity is going through the house. You'll have to make the home artificially dry. You can do this with air conditioning. Air conditioning allows for very dry air to be entering the house. It's not always an option. Sometimes we're working with swamp coolers, things like that. But with a little bit of knowledge, you can figure out how do I get these things dry. Even in a humid area, blowers, fans will still dry the carpet. Moving air quickly over the surface of your carpet will dry it. The bottom picture there is of a special type of blower that's designed to blow across the carpet. There's louvers on the bottom of that are aimed to the outside, so as that fan blows down, it angles the air to shoot along the surface of the carpet, drying it really quickly. Now those are expensive, but they're well worth the investment. You can be a hero if you provide your customers with clean and dry carpet. Even if it's just several rooms of dry carpet, you can ask your customer which area do you want back in use first. You can dry that area sometimes before you even leave, and the customer is so happy because all their furniture is back in place, they can start using the room right away. Keep in mind, that's what your customer wants. Your client wants clean, dry carpet. The longer they have to wait to reuse their room, the less and less happy they're going to be. So dry it as quickly as possible. So that's it for this module, soil removal. I do suggest that you might want to watch this again, take some notes. All these concepts are really important in doing a proper cleaning. So just make sure you know them so you can apply them in your daily cleaning jobs.